Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show, where truth matters. You can find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You can still find us on social media. I was doing it when nobody else was. Facebook.com/DFeazell. You can go to X. We've got our YouTube channel. Anytime you want to see this, you'll be able to. So go back. If you wanted to see this over again after it runs live, which will be probably sometime tomorrow about 1 o'clock, you can type in on Facebook.com. You'll just go up to the search and type in Donna Feazell, Justin Ennis, and you'll be able to see that as many times as you want to. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our guests. And Justin Ennis, you are in Albertville, and you're running for office, for the mayor of office in Albertville. So you're a successful businessman. Why on earth are you doing this?
Well, just the changes we've all seen here in Albertville over the last few years, and the fact that nobody else would do it. So I always wanted to do it from the time I was a little kid, and I met the mayor for the first time. I thought, this is what I want to do. And it wound up where I thought I would do it later in life. I'm actually doing it a little bit earlier because, our current mayor right now, he's been in for 13 years, and he's never been opposed since he got in all 13 years. And it was just time that somebody did, and nobody stepped up to the plate.
Well, let me ask you a few questions. And I noticed things about Albertville. It's not the same town as it was. Now, I'm seeing new businesses coming in and that kind of thing. But my son made the observation. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, comes back home to see me before we moved back to the Carolinas. And he said, "Mom, what has happened to Albertville?" And I said, "You're not noticing the growth?" And he said, "Yeah, I noticed the growth, but it looks like it's coming with a price."
Absolutely. It's coming with a big price. We have had to, and when I say we, I mean they have had to decrease a lot of the things that most people would want, or the things that I guess people are used to, as far as people had to be silenced and everything else. Basically, they've gone out and borrowed a lot of money and went and bought some retail. And I can pay anybody to be my friend, or I could pay anybody to come do business with me. If we had something to offer, well, we shouldn't be having to pay all this money. We're $321 million in debt. And that is just the city of Albertville. And, this year, looking back at the financials and stuff, you can see where we're actually using the money that we're still borrowing to pay the debt. It's basically a big circle they're trying to get, or a big ball they're trying to get rolling. And where it's not rolling, they're just basically just going to keep borrowing more and more to do it. And we're only $20 million from our debt ceiling, so I don't know what they're planning to do after this.
Okay, I want to ask a question because I'm just a normal person here, okay? And I have questions that I would love to ask. So how much authority does the mayor have? And by the way, I'm receiving emails. A lot of folks know you're going to be on the show today. So here are some of the questions that you've probably already been addressed. Okay, so one of those questions is, how much authority does the mayor have with the illegals coming in to the area?
Well, that is a very drawn out question. And the reason I'm going to say that is,
I made a 2-hour show for that one, right?
Yeah, that's right. So as far as doing anything with them, it doesn't matter if our police department picks them up, if ICE won't take them, if the federal government will not deport them, then to my knowledge, I'm not in law enforcement, but to my knowledge, there's not a whole lot that we can do. But one thing that Albertville has done is open their arms wide open and invited them in by allowing ordinances that, these people are living in houses that should be condemned. And people are renting them and making a lot of money off of it. And the ordinances being enforced will stop a lot of that, because people can't go rent or they're not going to go rent a house that they have spent a bunch of money on, that they have got up to code, and that they've got all the mold out of, and they've got all the lead paint where they can't be eaten, and all these things. If these ordinances were enforced, we could make it a lot harder, because these landlords are going to say, I don't want 20 people living in this home. I want a regular family to live in this home so that they don't destroy it, because I've actually had to spend money on it. Right now, they've got them living in anything. And little things like that, the city government could step up to do, and that would take care of a lot of it. But one of the problems is our current mayor owns a lot of rental properties in Albertville, a lot of them that are being rented to these people. So kind of step on his toes to have to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Another big question I have, and I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers out there have that as well, is there money coming in to help house illegals?
To my knowledge,
and would it be more than, say, if I rented a place?
Oh, absolutely. They're paying more for anything that they can get. And, it's almost a sad, it is a sad situation. These people come in, they don't have the credentials they need to go to a rental company and rent a legitimate place. They don't have the credentials that they have to be able to do a lot of things. Therefore, they're taken advantage of. And, sadly, some of our leaders have taken advantage of them.
That's what I've seen. These folks are being taken advantage of. Now, Hudson and I went on a trip to Mexico once. And it was, heaven on earth. It was just a beautiful place where we were at the resort and what have you. But I had to tell you, I was very uncomfortable because I couldn't speak their language, and it wasn't their fault. It was my fault because I didn't know how to speak their language. Then we went to South America once, to Bolivia, and it was a missionary trip. And the people there spoke Spanish, but it was a different dialect of Spanish. Couldn't be workshops or something set up, so because there has to be misunderstanding when you can't speak the same language.
Absolutely.
Could something be done about
that? Yes, there does need to be some things like that, which they're working on, for the younger ones, for the school and things like that. But one thing is, when somebody does come in legally, and if they're straight, out of Mexico or Guatemala or wherever it's from, when they come here, it would be awesome to be able to have some kind of training for them of how we live, so that it's not, diversity is not a bad thing. It's not racism to want people to live a standard life. We do that with ourselves. That's why we have laws, and it's not standardizing things and saying you have to live this way, you have to live that way. But, I'm going to use one example. Our federal government brought over a lot of people from Haiti. The problem is not that they brought over people from Haiti. The problem is they brought them over. Our local poultry plants recruited them back to here. We got them here, and as soon as we got them here, they just turned them loose. They have no idea how to live in America. They have no idea how to drive a car, and they're going and getting driver's license. 2 weeks ago, I'm coming down 431 in Albertville, and there was one in the left lane. His car had broke down. He left his car sitting there, no flashers on or anything, in the left lane on 431, and he was sitting in the median, Indian style, with just his, legs crossed, just sitting there, just looking around like, don't know what to do now. People were about to wreck, trying to get around his car, don't realize it stopped when they get there. There's no lights on or anything. That is not necessarily our local government's fault. That is a problem that the federal government did, and they should have done something better than that. You can't just bring people in and dump them into society and say, deal with it, because that will cause racism with people. And that does make people not like it. There's of course, to be diverse is okay. But just to push people over, and say, you're going to accept this whether you like it or not, because it makes everybody's life challenging when things like that are going on. What if my son, who has very limited vision, would have came over that hill in his truck doing 55 miles an hour, the speed limit, and that car sitting there, he would have hit that car at 55 miles an hour because he has limited vision. He has a special pair of glasses he has to wear to drive a vehicle. Things like that, obstacles like that, should not be in the road.
That's true. Now, my daughter-in-law, who adds a lot to our family, is from Russia. She was brought here when she was 9 years old. And so she has told me the steps she had to take to be a legal citizen of the United States. And I'm going to tell you, she knows more American history than most Americans know. She got it over known. And she's enriched our lives. I mean, I get to hear about Russian food and cooking and all those things, and it's just been wonderful. But she did it the right way. And I understand most of this is federal. But the point is, she has mentioned to me that had she just been thrown out into America without the guidance of the wonderful people who adopted her, and my son married up in life. I'm just telling you, these are wonderful people. They're great. But she's told me about how at 9 years old, how she would have felt just being dumped out in the United States, even in a good neighborhood, not knowing the language, not knowing the customs, not knowing what to do. It's scary for the kids.
It's got to be. It has to be. And like I said, then you're going back to having to deal with if multiple families are living in one or under one roof. Think about that, how hard that is on the kids, that they're living with a whole nother family. They're living with people that they don't know. Mm-hmm. They're living with other people from their background, but that don't mean they know the people when they start living with them. When they were recruiting these people over to the chicken plants about a year ago, they were literally just stacking in houses. Well, when they show up to see what the dispute was about, you know, they get there, and this is coming from a police officer. They get there to see what the dispute is about. Well, they don't know who knows who. They all just live together. You know, they're over there fighting because that's what men do when you put a bunch of men that don't, you know, who knows? One may have looked at one of them's kid, may have looked at somebody's wife, or just didn't like the way that whatever the situation, that's just going to happen with anybody if you're living with a bunch of people you don't know. And for kids, I can only imagine how scary that is, and dangerous. It is so dangerous. If a house catches on fire and that thing's got 30 people living in it, 20 people living in it, whatever the situation, who's not going to get out? And a lot of these houses are definite fire hazards. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're fire hazards.
You're making another point. Should that not be the authority of the city, maybe the city council members, to make sure things are in line? I mean, we've got lives in danger here.
Absolutely. That is exactly what should be going on. The fact that nobody got, last election cycle didn't even happen. Nobody was opposed. What happens there is you get people that aren't opposed that just start doing whatever they want to, and they're all yes men. They're all just for each other. Whatever one wants, that's fine. The rest of them are go with it. There's no opposition to anything, and they're just rocking on like everything is perfectly well, and it's not. And that goes back to those ordinances. Those are things that the city can do about it. The city can go in and enforce ordinances. The city needs to adopt a few new ordinances. Quit being scared of it being shut down in the Supreme Court. Let's just open it up and do it. And if it gets shut down, we'll back up and punt. We'll do something a little bit different, but we'll change it. The city of Gadsden has a really good one, and I've been looking at it very hard, and it has not been shut down by the Supreme Court like Center Points and a few Opelika, I think. The Supreme Court shut down their stuff, but they haven't, the city of Gadsden. So I definitely want to talk to those lawmakers down there and see if we can't put something like that in place for him.
Yeah, I think you need to. And once you get in, that's what exactly needs to be one of your first steps. I'm just saying this as a regular citizen, but I wanted to mention this. There was a time when I would have felt more safe in Albertville than in Gadsden. Okay, so I go to Gadsden once a month, or try to. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but I go once a month, and I interview my sponsors and people who are staying with me. Thank God I've got sponsors who stayed with me all these years. And so I go down there, but I actually feel more safe now in Gadsden than I do in Albertville. And I'll tell you what I did. So my husband and I decided to rent, I'll not tell you which hotel it was, but it was in Albertville. And I'm thinking, oh, this looks nice. That's going to be a nice one. It's going to be fine. We get there. We didn't get a wink of sleep all night because illegals were there. They were partying all night. So we called the office. I've got to have rest, okay, to be able to function on the talk show. I mean, it's just the way it is. And so I don't know how I made it that next day. So I called the office 2 times. Well, she couldn't do anything about them. And I said, well, then can you call the police? And she was afraid of them. She was afraid to say anything to these folks. And I said, well, then I'll call them. So I went on ahead and called the police. I got the police out there twice. Nothing against the police department, but it's as if their hands were tied.
And it's sad.
They didn't do anything.
It's very sad.
Very unsafe.
Absolutely. And we're supposed to be an inviting town. When we built SMPA in Albertville, we were told, all the citizens were told, that this is going to produce $120 million in economic impact a year, per year. And just the other day, they were bragging about how it's done 80 million in 4 years, 20 million a year, and we're 100 million off. And people don't want to come to situations like you're talking about. They don't want to go to a hotel that's packed out with people that we're looking for homes for, or we're trying to buy another rental so that we can rent it to these people. When they were first started busting all of them up here, and everybody was saying, "Oh, they're not busting them in; they're carrying them back and forth to the chicken plant." That was a well thought up lie that they all put together there. We knew where they were coming from. We had people follow them. We had 2 of the buses just followed, and both of them went straight back to Atlanta, Georgia. So I don't know where this chicken plant is or why they would live here and go to Atlanta, Georgia, but they went back empty. So whatever the situation be, we weren't. The city was helping house them in one of the old churches behind McDonald's in Albertville until they found them a place to go. That was a thing. And then they just started putting them in anything. They just started putting them anywhere. And sadly, when you do that, you do create your own chaos. And that's kind of what we've done. I don't know that our city didn't need some of this just to get the head count, the numbers that they needed to get the retail that they've been recruiting.
Yeah.
But it's not the right way of doing it by any means. If you bring good paying jobs, like I said, you shouldn't have to go pay people to come here to have retail. I shouldn't have to give the Target project $44 million to get them to come here. We should offer you a reason to want to come here by having manufacturing jobs where people live here. And you can say, well, I have this many people that live here. Well, you want to come in? We don't mind helping you a little bit, but $44 million, I mean, and it's all borrowed money. Every bit of it's borrowed.
I just can't imagine that as a town you would owe that much. And this is another question that was brought in from one of your citizens of Albertville. And so the citizen of Albertville, and they asked me not to use their name, and I respect that. So they wanted to know what would happen if we had another bad economy like we had in the year 2008. What could that potentially do to the town of Albertville when you owe that much money?
Oh, it's scary. I've been saying this as well. So first of all, property values will decrease, obviously, during a recession. Will they eventually go up? Probably so. But if we have another recession like we had before and retail sales go down, we're in trouble. As a city, we're in trouble. What happens from there? I don't even know. I hate to say that, but I don't think that this administration has even thought about it. I think they're just like, well, everything's good and we just keep going and we just keep borrowing. And you sit there and you say, well, right now you're borrowing money. This is, I looked at some of the financials. I even put them on my Facebook. So some of the financials show that they borrowed $60 million. I think it was, well, maybe it wasn't this year, but whenever it was that they borrowed a certain amount of money, part of that money went back to pay the interest or to pay towards the bonds. So they're having to borrow money to do it right now. And right now we're at the lowest because this last money we just we just borrowed, I went and looked and it looked like in, I think 2028 or 2029, it goes up to like 12 million a year. And right now I think we're paying like 7 million a year. So we're almost doubling what we've got to pay in just the next few years. If we go into an economic downfall, if we go into a recession, and let's be honest, this is the longest, bankers will tell you this is the longest the United States has been without a recession in a long time. It's been since like the 06, 07, 08. This is the longest we've been on a run. So it's liable to hit any time. If it hits, I have no idea how bad it's going to be because we're sitting right now where this retail has to work. Target has to work. The restaurants, the other retail around it, they have to work and they have to pay us a lot of money to keep things going. And if they don't work out, we're in big trouble already. And if there's a recession, I can only imagine how bad it's going to get.
Well, let me ask you another question. This pertains to employees. Okay, so you get Target, you get all these places of business that are coming in. You're going to have to have some good English speaking folks working there, or it's going to be considered. And I'm not bashing a single soul. I'm just telling you the way it is. Okay, if I go into a place and the person can't understand anything I'm saying, or let's say I go back to Bolivia in South America and I walk in there and I'm working somewhere there, their citizens are going to get pretty aggravated because I can't speak their dialect of Spanish.
That's exactly right.
It's going to cause problems. So you've got that whammy coming at you too. And then it will feel so unsafe that somebody like me wouldn't want to work late hours in retail. I'm just telling you like it is. What can be done about that? What would be your plan?
Well, obviously they're going to have security, over there. As far as recruitment for these jobs, it's hard to recruit people for these jobs. The manager of Jim and Nick's Barbecue, he's going to make good. I'm sure the servers make pretty good. But, a lot of these servers go from restaurant to restaurant. We've all experienced that. We see them over the years, and they're great people. There's a lot of good ones, and it's always nice to see them. But, people come from other areas, and they might do that. Are they going to move here for that? Are they going to come here and buy a home to go do these jobs? Is somebody going to move here to say, well, I got a job part-time at Target, even though it does pay pretty good. I got a part-time job at Target. I think I'm going to buy me a house in Albertville and move there. I don't think that's going to happen. We need manufacturing jobs. We got to go out and get them. Our president just has started the tariff thing. And when he started the tariff thing, all these companies started saying, hey, we're coming back to America to build stuff. Mm-hmm. Our city does not have the money, the borrowing power to incentivize them coming here. The only thing we can say is we've got a Target coming if you want to come here, or we've got a Food City, and we've got a few other little places over here. We're fixing to build a little bowling alley fun center if you want to come here for that. But what do we really have to offer manufacturers that do want to come here? And that bothers me that we can't incentivize that enough to get them here. Or we can. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to get some of our debt paid back. And when we get the debt paid back, we can start really going after and recruiting these big companies, because I think it's 6 out of 12. And now this is Marshall County wide, not just Albertville, but 6 of the 12 largest employers in Marshall County are poultry industry. Well, we know who the poultry industry has been recruiting. You and I can't walk in the poultry industry today and decide, hey, we got to feed our family. I need a job. They're not going to give us one. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Let me ask you about the pay incentive. Okay, let's just say, I couldn't walk in and get a job. My granddad actually worked for the USDA with Wayne Poultry back in the day. So he retired there. But that was back in the day. That was 20 years ago. So let me ask you another question. So how are these folks being paid? Are they being paid a fair wage, or is it lower, or is it more than, say, like me walking off the street getting the job? Do you know anything about the wages?
I don't know exactly what they're getting paid by the hour, but I can tell you one of their incentives, and this is coming from somebody I spoke to in HR at one of the poultry plants that's no longer there. They're retired. And basically, they're getting enough tax breaks to where, just say they're paying $20 an hour. Well, when the government brings these people in and says, we need you for the workforce, they don't only give them what was it they were getting? I don't even know what they were giving them per month to live, but they were giving them money on a debit card. And then they're giving the poultry companies incentives for hiring them. So if they're paying them $20 an hour, but they're getting $25 an hour incentives, they're actually making $5 an hour just for hiring them in there. So really they're making money off of their labor. And all that sounds great and wonderful to an extent.
But for any of these poor employees, is any of that spilled over into their paychecks?
No, I'm sure it's not. I don't know that. I couldn't answer that, but I can tell you that's the reason why. It's not that Americans won't work. We keep hearing Americans won't work. If Americans have to feed their families, they'll do what they have to do for the majority. I do believe it. I know there's a lot of people that won't work and this and that. And we talk about them, but let's be honest. Most people do what they have to provide for their families. you're not going to get them to come in there, or you're not going to get them to hire you because of the turnover they have hired, and because you're not going to get them any incentives for hiring you. So they're going to keep recruiting them to areas like ours as long as we put up with it.
Well, Justin, 30 minutes of the show has already passed by. Can you hang around another 30 minutes? Do you have time?
I can do whatever.
All right, let's go. I told you it would fly.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go into a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing, including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
We are back. My name is Donna, and I am the host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Just want we got Justin here with us right now. Justin, my husband and I used to own 8 Nextel cell phone stores in Alabama. We had one in Albertville, out there close to Sonic. It seems like I saw you in that store. I think you might have been one of my customers. You know, the
Probably so.
2 ways.
Oh yeah, we used to call them the beep beeps, and we had them. Everybody had the beep beeps.
That's where I saw you, I think. And so that was a long time ago. Had a little cancer scare, and someone bought my stores. Oh, I turned out fine. And so can't beat an old war horse like this.
Well, that's good to hear.
But I'm going to tell you what, that was retail. And retail is a different booger, okay? So, but I'm just wondering why it seems like the shift for Albertville, and I'm not bashing Albertville. I love Albertville. Went to Antioch Baptist Church, you know, and just it was a great place. Had a business there, great income. It was absolutely wonderful. But it seems like the push in Albertville has been retail and restaurants and not so much manufacturing companies. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about education. And I'll have to tell you, I am a huge cheerleader for tech jobs. I'm just telling you, there was a time your mother would have told the daughter, honey, marry a lawyer or a doctor. And now they're saying, honey, go find a plumber. They're the fastest growing millionaires in the United States. So I would like to see a bigger push to tech jobs. That's where the money is. AI. Most of the jobs are going to be AI in a few years. We've got to get ready for it. So what could the mayor do to help with that incentive?
Well, they've already built the school over there in the Albertville City school system that is like a tech school within. They do need to expand it, which from the mayor's standpoint, you know, there's not a lot you do with the school system. You help get the, your candidates for the school board, and you make sure that they have enough money over there, you know, that you're not taking away from them, which we've all seen that they're taking a lot of money from the school system for random things. But, you know, I would love to see, and even if my voice was just heard over there as far as, you know, hey, throwing some insight to it, we need a plumbing program. We need an electrical program. And there's apprenticeships, you know, I think it's the Alabama School of Apprenticeship or whatever, you know, they will come in and help talk to companies and find out, you know, local companies who need electricians and things like that. And my understanding is these kids could be working like an apprenticeship while they're there in high school. They will be learning what they need to do anyway. So if they said, you know, if a plumber come in and said, hey, I'm going to need, you know, 10 employees next year, a big plumbing company, this is what I need them to know. Well, you know that, and you can teach them that in school. You can do this. And when they come out, they're ready to go. And people using their hands are going to be, I've said this since I was in school. I've said this when I was a kid in school. I remember my dad getting mad at me one day. You know, he was talking about college or something like that. And I was like, well, you know, I'm not going. And he said, well, you know, I said, they're pushing it on everybody. If everybody's doing that, then who's going to make the money? You know, if everybody goes to college, then who's going to do it? Well, where are we at right now? You know, people are going and getting hundreds or close to hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and they're coming out and all they can find is a $40,000 job. Well, like you just said, now AI is fixing to cover the entry-level jobs. And when AI covers entry-level jobs, how are you going to get experienced? Or get, you know, most people, if you don't get to entry level, they want experience. Well, I can't have experience if AI did it. Mm-hmm. So I've been preaching this since I was a kid, that somebody better learn to use their hands. And if you do use your hands, you'll be the one making the money. And it's very hard to get a home built right now. I don't know if you tried to do that, but I have people call me all the time. Will you build me a house? Absolutely. Well, everybody I've called, they just can't, or they don't, or they won't build for anybody anymore. It's because they can pick and choose their work so much because there's not enough people doing it. And plumbers, electricians, there's just not enough of them out there.
Oh gosh, we moved to South Carolina a few months ago, and so we bought a house. It's a wonderful house. Just cosmetic stuff has to be done to it. So we had an electrician come out. Well, two younger guys came, and I said, "I am so proud of you boys." And one of them said, "Why?" And I said, "You are using your head." And I said, "So did you go to tech school?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I was involved in the dual enrollment program." You know what that is?
Absolutely.
That's where you walk across the stage, and parents are already happy because you got the high school diploma, and they're very happy. You can see dollar signs in their eyes because their kid has part of a degree from college. Walking off, and let's say that promoted much more. But he was telling me the story about, he said he didn't want to go to college. You know, he wanted to be an electrician. And he said, and it's funny, he said, all of my friends have graduated from college now. And he said, nobody can afford to go out to eat. I'm the only one who can. I got the new truck. I've got all this stuff. And he said they have all that debt behind him, and they're working on jobs that don't even pertain to what they went to college for, and they're in debt. So I would love to see that pushed on. Now, I've been going to the tech college here in Abbeville, South Carolina. They got a first-rate, first-class one. And in Greenwood, South Carolina, I would love to see Alabama look at what they've put together. You could even be a veterinarian. You know that?
Yeah, that's it.
Veterinarian classes while you're going to tech school, while you're in high school. So if that could be pushed, it has to be done with the manufacturing jobs coming in. Absolutely.
And I went to, I don't know if you've been there when you're home visiting or whatever, but Snead State now has the big, down at the Marshall County Tech School, they've got that big career center. And man, that thing is awesome. We went to, I went to an economic development, meeting or forum with TVA there, talking about how to, bring in more manufacturing and how it is, all the things that you would think people from our current administration would be there. And there was only one from our current administration there at this. But anyways, I went to it, and it was very interesting, but just seeing the inside of that facility and the things that I wanted to just sign up right then. I was like, I want to learn these things, and I'm midlife, don't plan on doing any of this, but I just want to know how to use this stuff. I mean, it was amazing the things that they've got in there.
That's what I told the people down at the tech center here. I said, I'm 66, but I even want to go to tech school.
Absolutely.
And I was one of them.
That's it. And my thing was going in there and seeing all those things, I thought, man, like this is right here in our back door. This could be used very good for our people if they know that this is there and they have a place to go work when they get out of here. It's just like anything else, though. If they go in there and they learn how to use those machines, and when I say machines, I couldn't tell you how many machines in there. That place was just, it blew my mind.
And first-rate stuff. First rate.
That's it.
So you don't have junk to work with.
That's it. And these, but what, in a kid's mind, like you said a while ago, they want to start making money as quickly as possible. They want to know that what they're putting their mind to is going to make money.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Why can we not go after people that this career center can teach right here in our back door and put them to work right here in Albertville, Alabama? Right now, the only excuse I have for you is the fact that we've spent all our money on retail. We got a good place to eat wings up here, but we don't have a good place to
where I'm coming from. You see where I'm coming from when I go through and all I see is retail.
Absolutely.
And I think restaurant, you got a lot of great restaurants, but why can't, and I love a good restaurant. I love to eat out. Of course, I'm a woman. And I love to shop, of course. but my point is if you can't keep the employees you got, why do the people keep building restaurants over and over again? It's hard to find people.
It's very, very hard to find people. And, you would get the kids, the school kids, everything else, if you had a place for their dad to work here. And I keep hearing this administration, this is one thing I keep hearing them say, we got to have things here so that when they graduate, they want to stay here. And in my mind, maybe it's the smart aleck side of me just wants to say, well, first we need to have something here to keep their parents here because they're going to take their kids with them.
Uh-huh.
I understand a lot of kids move off. They're going to do that anyways, just because kids are rebellious. They're going to go, or they go to college, they wind up staying there, or they go to work somewhere, or their job may take them off somewhere, and they go with a spouse or meet a spouse out there. I understand people move for all sorts of reasons from an area, but when parents move, there's one guarantee you got there: they're taking the kids. We got so many people. I didn't realize until I started running for mayor. Let me pause there for a second. When I was a kid, my parents also had a gas station. That may be where you know me from also, because when I was a young kid, my parents had a gas station, and we were one of the last gas stations to pump people's gas for them. So that is what we did. I knew about everybody in Albertville by face, if not by name, but I knew most by name. I didn't realize until the other day, or back when I started running for mayor, that how many people had really already moved out of Albertville. I mean, I have so many people messaging me daily. That's why we moved. That's why we moved. I hope you get it. That's why I moved. And I'm sitting there going, wow, I didn't even know, just people you see out every now and then. I didn't realize they were gone, that they had already moved out. And it's sad that so many people have moved out of this area. And I don't know if it would bring them back to even fix things, but to keep the people here, we have to make sure that we put people's needs first. And that's not happening right now.
Well, let me just give you a good common sense answer to that. Okay. Just walking around common sense, gum chewing common sense answer to that. Okay. When you feel like you're a citizen, you're the one who put the mayor in, you're the one who put the city council in, and you feel like they're ignoring you for another group of people who are not even United States citizens, you think, why should I stay here?
Absolutely.
That's just common sense. That's what you're going to feel. And when you don't feel safe, when you come back and visit and you're at a hotel room, you got to call the cops twice. That I've not been back feeling we've stayed in Gadsden every time we've come back to Alabama.
Well, sadly, that is probably what a lot of people, or the way they feel about it. And then, when I mention something about it, of course, we have, people jump on there and, well, that's not really happening. That's not really happening. And I just wonder if when people wake up and say, oh, it's happening, somebody like you that's really experienced it and came in and this happened to you. That's just one person that we're able to hear feedback from. How many people are we not hearing anything from again? That we just never knew them. They just came here.
I not voiced it until I just voiced it to you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's, the fact that people turn a blind eye to it. And for those of us who haven't turned our blind eye to it, I mean, there's the things on Facebook I see all the time. Somebody tried to rob me at one of the stores, or somebody was in the parking lot and tried to grab me. Let me tell you something. Those aren't things that you just look over. That's happens right here in Albertville. Happens all over the United States. That's how people get taken. And, there's all kind of bad things going on. You say, well, that's not really going to happen. Oh, it happens everywhere. And especially when you bring in people from all these other areas, it doesn't matter if they come here from California, Texas, it doesn't matter where they came from. It can still happen anywhere. One of the places in Texas that I used to stay close to, they said that the Walmart there, to always be careful there. And I told them, I said, well, I don't think that, they're looking for big, ugly white guys to, snatch up and send overseas for the, the trade that they were trying to steal people for. But they said that more people was taken from that Walmart than any other Walmart, in the world. And now how much truth of that, I don't know. But for that to even be said tells you there's a bunch. Well, that let me know right there that even though I love that part of Texas, it's going on right there. It can happen right here in Albertville, Alabama. It doesn't matter. They don't have we're only going to go certain places. Once you're on the map, and it's for good and bad.
Well, isn't it already happening? Because now your news is spreading up here to South Carolina too. I mean, we hear what's happening down there. So there was an incident at one of your Oriental restaurants where ICE came in, and my husband and I are looking at each other like, boy, we're glad we moved. I'm not saying this is perfect area here. I'm just saying the people around here, the mayor and the city council people in this area right here will fight like tooth and gun for you. They just will. And your city council people and your mayor needs to be able to fight as well for their citizens. So I don't know what it could be hyped up in the news. Who knows? But what happened there? If you know enough about it to tell me.
I don't really know. I mean, I know about what everybody else knows probably because I haven't dug into it or anything. But my understanding was the owner of it. He was from New York. He had done something bad, felony in New York or something, maybe a bad business deal or something in New York. And while they came here to get him, he had some illegal aliens working for him. So ice is ice. They're not going to leave them. So they grabbed everybody. And, that was kind of what I thought. It was funny that one of the law enforcement had put out there that, chances are if you're illegal, you might not want to hang out with felons and things like that, because you'll go to, even if you're not a criminal, because you are a criminal if you're illegal. But, he was pretty much saying you might not want to hang out with people like that. So I did think that was kind of comical, but that's what happened. I mean, they got there. There were some illegal people there. There are illegal aliens there also. So they grabbed them while they grabbed the other guy and took them all. And, it's not like we've talked about a bunch of times. The people who don't like it immediately scream racism. I can take you back, not going to say any names, but I can take you back to when I was a kid, and I remember a man getting shot here in Albertville, Alabama, at work by an illegal alien. It was a friend of mine's uncle. Well, the whole family's friends of mine. But he was shot by an illegal alien. To this day, to my knowledge, that illegal alien has still not been caught, charged, anything. That's the problem with not having record of people. I'm not one to say the government should know how many guns you got and how much ammo you got and all this, because I could care less about that. But they do need record of you, just like they have record of me and they have record of you. That's why you get a social security number. That's why you get a birth certificate and everything else when you're born here, is because there is record of you. That is for your protection and for others' protection. Without those documents, we have no idea who you are. Therefore, if you commit other crimes besides just being here illegal, there's not much that we could do, and that bothers me. It is a problem, and we have to get it fixed. And we don't need to be sitting here with open arms in Albertville going, y'all just come here. Y'all just come here and stay, because that's not the way it needs to be. And that's not racism. That's for everybody's protection.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention another thing, too, and this probably gets me hot under the collar more than anything. And that's those poor little kids who are brought over here, and people take them. They're sexually abused. They're killed. They're kidnapped, they're whatever. What about their protection? Is anybody even thinking about that?
Another question. When you take a lot of, this came from law enforcement in another county. I was talking to him one time, and I said, why in the Spanish community, why is there not more, you don't hear as much about rapes or anything like that until it comes to them committing it against an American? And he said, it's pretty simple. They don't call us to report it because they're illegal, and they know they are. Therefore, those poor children that are being sodomized and everything else in those communities, there's nothing they can do. Their mother can't do nothing, because their mother just says, we're not even supposed to be here. We cannot call the police. They're taught that the police are bad people, and they're not. They're there for their protection, but they're having to be taught that because of the kind of life they're living, because they're living here illegally. And it's sad. It's a terribly sad situation. And if they knew the truth, that it doesn't matter if you're here illegally or not, if we knew somebody was doing that to you, there would definitely be something done, but that's what I'm saying. But you got people that just want to scream, oh, this is racism. Oh, this is racism, when they don't want to look at the whole wide spectrum of why you actually don't want them illegally here.
Mm-hmm. This reminds me again of my daughter-in-law. Her ears have to really be burning. This girl is the prettiest little thing you've ever seen from Russia. Big, old, pretty blue eyes. I mean, this girl's just gorgeous. And I can only imagine her being at 9 years old with a loving family, how scaring it was for her. And coming in, she was taught English, by the way, perfect English, by the way. And again, American history and all those wonderful, wonderful things. But how rough it was on her with a loving family, but then just being jerked around, put into a house with 30 other people, has to be scary for those kids. And imagine a generation of those kids growing up that way.
Absolutely.
What's that going to do to your community?
Well, we're already experiencing it. It's already, there's already some going, we got good people that came over the wrong way in 94, 95. We do. And there's no, you hope that they can be streamlined citizenship because some of them have proven themselves being here. They do great work, They're great to the community. Even if they're not hard workers, they're still just great people. Those are the people that you love to see thrive because that's what America's about. That's what this place is about. But in Albertville, those people are starting to move out too. And the reason those people are starting to move out is the same reason that everybody else is wanting to, because we're still sitting here with open arms. And instead of making people redo these houses and make sure they're safe, and I know I keep going back to that, but it's one of our biggest problems here. It's probably 80% of Albertville, maybe even more than that, is older homes that are just being bought to rent out. They're just buy them and rent them out, just like they are, or whatever. They're not spending any money on them because they know the clientele they're renting to does not care. That is a problem. That is a huge problem. And it's going to keep happening that way. And people are going to keep moving out and keep selling their houses. I mean, I've said it. If I can't make this change in Albertville, I can't help Albertville change. As much as I love Albertville, should I stay here? Is this where, although one of my kids is raised and my other one is a freshman in high school, once she finishes school and my kids are done, do I stay here? My parents that have lived here my whole life, their whole life. They moved off for a little while, back in college days, but they came back and they've even talked about moving out of Albertville. And when you start talking about people like that, or talking about, like, when I say my parents, I'm talking about, like, they don't even go out to eat much. These are people that just love being at home and they love their home and it's theirs.
But you've got to feel safe.
That's it. And when they start talking about, you know what, we may just sell and move out of here. We may just get out of here. When they do, I know there's a lot of other people that's ready to, because I could never see them anywhere else besides Albertville. And that's the reason that I'm running, trying to make this change, is because I don't want moving out to be my last resort, and because I did a lot of complaining, and I'm not one to complain and not try to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I am. But I don't know. I guess I saw the handwriting on the wall, and then I saw some of this moving into the town of Geraldine. And so, and I take notice on things. I notice little houses being built. I mean, it's not a resort area there. I mean, it's not like you're going to, to like Panama City or anything like that. There's no reason to have little houses for people to camp out in. I know Pell City is an awesome place where you can just put a little camper out, but this is not Pell City. There's no reason to do that. So in my mind, it's like, okay, it's heading here too. That's it. It's an ongoing problem that nobody has done anything about, and I've heard that, this could definitely hurt our local economy, just like we were talking about without a recession. If all them did get just taken up at one time, or they do come in and just do a clean sweep and get them, then hey, that could devastate, because they do spend a lot of money. Is it 20%? Is it 40%? I don't know, but guaranteed it'd be a lot of money, because they still do spend a lot of money here. But they're saying in September. I don't know if that's still. I've been paying attention to my own campaign and everything running, but I keep hearing, September, that they were talking about, actually, President Trump had talked about taking back a lot of things like that, or going back to the drawing board and saying, here's what we're going to do. So I don't know if that's still happening or not, or if they're planning on revoking the citizenship, or how all that's worked. Like I said, I may be behind on that, even because I've been doing my own campaign stuff so much, I haven't had time to pay attention to the rest of things going on in the rest of the world. And usually that's my go-to. I think it's going to be in cycles. I think it would be get rid of the felons, those kinds of folks. Right. Get rid of them, let them go one. But the hard-working ones, they'll probably wind up getting you to stay, which that'd be good. I mean, as long as they become American citizens and pay taxes like the rest of us do. I'll just have to tell you, April 15th, I don't want to see somebody illegally here. No. It puts a bad taste in my mouth. And it does for everybody else as well. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left in this segment. Okay, heartfelt. Election is tomorrow.
It is.
Folks need to vote. Now, I'm just telling you, Justin, a lot of folks only vote at the presidential level. They don't vote for anything else. And I was embarrassed about the amount of people who turned out in Alabama, even for the presidential race. Okay, let's talk to folks. It's your God-given right. Why vote?
Well, because we need change here in Albertville. If you live here in Albertville in these city limits, then chances are you know. It's not a popularity contest. It's not about who's got all the money, who's this or that. If the things going on in Albertville don't directly help your family, the target being built don't directly hit your family and make it better, then you should see the waste that we have put out there. Is it a bad thing? No. Is it something I'm going to shut down? No, absolutely. We got to have it. We've already borrowed the money. We have to have those, and they got to do good. I hope and pray that they do well. But you need to think about your future, your kids' future, if they plan to stay here, and where this city is going to be if we don't do something. Our current administration is not going to do anything about rentals. They're not going to do anything about the ordinances. And if they do, they're going to pick and choose like they have been about who they enforce them to. As bad as I hate to say it, and we do know who vandalized my signs. I have since July. We turned them in. The police department still hasn't done anything. Have I made a big deal about it? No, because I don't want that to be part of the reason that I do or don't get mayor. But it just goes back to show what our good old boy system is doing here in Albertville. And if we don't do something about the good old boy system, we don't do something about our ordinances, and we don't get back to the lives of people and the livelihood of people and making sure that everything is for everyone, the decisions made are for the majority of the people in Albertville and not just a few, then I don't understand how you couldn't, see all the things going on and say, we need to change. I understand that I went into this like David against Goliath. I knew that he's been in there 13 years. Everybody knows him. And a lot of people don't like change. They're like, it doesn't matter. It's not helping me, but it's not hurting me. What does it matter? Well, what matters is the things that you're not noticing. I can promise you it's probably not helping you, but you might want to reevaluate and see if it's hurting you, because if we don't do something and we keep these arms wide open, there's not going to be an Albertville left at all. It's going to all be rentals, and I don't know that anybody's going to live here. I mean, most of the people that own all these rental properties don't even live in the city limits anymore. They live somewhere else, and they've just got rental properties all in the city.
Mm-hmm. And who knows where they live? Probably live in the state.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's it's sad, and it's sad that they wouldn't go. I had a couple rental houses at one time, but something about my rental houses, I lived in them at one time. As a renter, as someone who builds houses, as someone who works on houses, and I don't own any rental houses anymore, by the way. I sold those probably close to 10 years, maybe 12 years ago, because I decided I wasn't in the rental business because of that, because I'm not going to have people destroy my houses and me have to go back and fix them every time, because I'm not going to rent them as junk. But I will say that if I ever decided to get back into that later in life, and I just said, I want to buy some just to have some residual income, that I couldn't see me wanting to rent something out that I wouldn't live in, because that's the way I was before. And most of these rental companies in the Albertville that have multiple rentals, they won't even, I wouldn't even think the owner of them would walk in them. I mean, they would be afraid they're going through the floor, or they would be afraid they're going to catch something. And that bothers me.
Mm-hmm. It bothers me too. If nothing else, at least think of the kids.
Absolutely.
They're coming in with those big old pretty eyes, and they're afraid as it is. So please think of the children.
Absolutely.
Okay, Justin, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I know you're busy, guy. Election tomorrow. Good luck to you.
Well, thank you.
So I know it's been a hard drive.
It has been. It has been. They've tried a little bit of everything, and we just keep throwing truth at them. And now it's just about all they got to come back with us on is, if you don't want to go backwards and you want to keep going forward, and vote for us. And I'm thinking, that's what I want you to say right there. Just look as bad as you can.
There you go.
The truth hurts sometimes.
Give them enough rope. That's what my granddad used to say. Give people enough rope, they'll hang their own self. You don't have to.
That's it. That's exactly right.
And Justin, I hope you have a wonderful day. Get some rest tonight. And get out there.
Will do.
Oh, you're going to vote.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to you a little bit later. Hang around. I got something else to say before we go. Guys,
Okay.
thank you so much for watching the show. You're the reason I do what I do. Continue sending emails. It's all about you. This is your show. Donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna@donnasedge.com. See you next time.